And welcome everybody to the Chapter 67 discussion for Tears on a Withered Flower. This is Auntie Laura here. We also have Madam Boyd and Digital Girl. We're going to go ahead and get started with the recap. Oh Lord, this chapter. I mean, it was something.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the recap of Chapter 67 of Tears on a Withered Flower. All right, so we start off immediately with this chapter with Ari back with her friend that she was speaking to in Chapter 16. We actually haven't seen this character in a very long time. So her friend was asking, "Oh, are you okay? And if you can just tell me, that will be okay." And Ari is upset because she's not pregnant. So we got our answer immediately after the cliffhanger for the second chapter 66. Ari is not pregnant. But she asks a very important question. Aren't people usually frustrated when they get pregnant by accident? And she said that, oh, it just had to be on a safe day. And she's like, oh, it's usually the opposite. So Ari is thinking that, like, I was getting ready to receive a proposal, and since Oppa didn't use any protection, he must have been thinking about living together too. But she asks a really good question: who uses not using protection as a proposal? She's like, I don't even know where to begin with you. And the reason why Ari's thinking this is because some girls who are really within their feelings and stuff, they kind of use a man kind of like foregoing protection as like a way of, oh, I want to actually, start a family, taking things seriously, the whole 9 yards. I know half of us kind of sighed, half of us rolled our eyes, and half of us said a silent prayer. But she's like, so this is when I really respected her friend. Ari, what exactly are you so anxious about? So she's saying, you said the guy likes you. Then he would probably wait for you and eventually propose without you having to do something like this. The fact that you feel like you have to do something harmful to yourself for his sake. From my perspective as your friend, I can't see that as in a positive light at all. And she said, to be blunt, ever since you started seeing this guy, you've been a little kind of crazy a little bit. And her friend gives poignant advice. Like, she doesn't have to do all of this kind of sleuthing. She doesn't have to try and get herself pregnant to be able to, have Mincheol take the relationship seriously. He would be doing the work to take the relationship seriously. Anyways, so she said, immediately cut her off and said, hey, what do you even know to talk like that? So we go back to chapter 15. Do you know Mincheol better than I do? Do you know idea how hard his life has been? It's just that Oppa has a lot of scars. So even if he likes me, I thought he might not easily bring up marriage. So I can tell for a fact that Mincheol probably told Ari his life story about how he was poor, how he was an orphan, how, both his parents died, and then probably spin what happened with him and Hae Soo into something that would have benefited him. So she does something that is going to bite her in the butt, and she decides to cut her friend off. And the thing that always contrasted between Ari and Hae Soo was the fact that Ari had friends, Ari had a support group, Ari has money, Ari has the means to be able to kind of leave the relationship, but she decided that, like, I don't want to talk to this friend anymore. I don't want to, see this friend. And yeah, and that is going to bite her because she's willingly isolating herself from people that can actually help her. So we move on directly to Hae Soo, the queen of the day, and Taeha tells her that she's taking the day off today and that he'll wait for her when she's done work. So she's still thinking about what Anol said to her about, him being a gigolo because the fact that his schedule isn't fixed. I don't think she's really kind of considering that he could probably be a Chable, just because being a Chable is way out of their scope. So he's thinking that he's waiting nearby, and then he misses him. He got a new wolf sticker with the teddy bear, and a new chibi of Taeha being demure in a little raincoat, which is absolutely adorable. But she's like, could a kid this innocent really be a giggler or something like that? So she decides to tell him a story, a kind of like a scary story about a ghost who haunted the motel that she worked. So Taeha ends up saying, I don't think I can sleep alone tonight. I'm too scared. Let me stay with you. This man's such a liar. Anyways, so turns out this ghost story and Taeha and Hae Soo's past are connected to each other. So he says, there was a time your gaze slipping past me didn't feel so cruel. And then we go directly to what happened at the motel. At first, I only watched from afar. Hae Soo's nodding off. If it were possible, I intended to keep it that way forever. So this guy kind of walks in to the motel. He's drunk. And then he's like, hey, auntie, wake up. A guest is here. And then Taeha immediately tells him to, be quiet because Hae Soo's asleep. Here are my favorite panels. It's so ridiculous. So my favorite panels is like, look at this guy. He is literally just like, huh? And he keeps that same expression when he's taken off to an extremely luxurious hotel for the night. And Hae Soo is able to kind of get some extra sleep. And this is definitely before the events of chapter 1, because I kind of realized after reading the English translation a couple of times, this is actually the story of kind of like how everything was before Hae Soo noticed Taeha in chapter 1. She literally had no focus on any other guy except for Mincheol. She had no focus on anybody except for Mincheol. Mincheol was her entire world. She was consumed by Mincheol. Is the audio okay? I think the audio's okay.
Yeah, they just said something is lagging, so I wasn't sure if they were referring to the stream or the audio, so that's why I asked. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So the thing is that I kind of realized, and this chapter kind of showed me that Hae Soo was totally consumed by Mincheol. She had no time to think about herself. She had no time to think about others. She couldn't even have time to like see other people. And I think that is why, even though she has met Taeha about probably twice, 3 times, and countless other times in her life, yeah, both. For her. She didn't notice Taeha because the only person she kind of noticed in her entire life was Mincheol. Anyway, so we go into the second time that Hae Soo interacted with Taeha, and like he's just ordering rooms and everything. But the thing is that because she's like just focused on work and everything, she doesn't have anything to really think about the interaction. And this made me realize that like Hwa Jung's little statement of, oh, there's a rose guy who orders roses every single day from you specifically, like that is something that the minute that Hwa Jung stated that and Hae Soo actually immediately looked for it, it was the day that she actually unwillingly gave Taeha the recognition that, I also noticed you as well. Anyways, the guy that was swixed away to a nice hotel was saying that like, oh, he looks like a vampire and everything. And he was super tall. And his eyes, they were bewitching people. And it was too funny. Like he was taken to a foreign car and everything. And it was way too funny. So basically, I think this interaction was also important because even though like Taeha was right in front of her, right? The only thing that was in her mind was that Mincheol hasn't replied to me all day. And she was getting ready for work and she was getting ready to go home, but she also wanted to see if like Mincheol has replied and everything. And Taeha was kind of looking like she didn't even look up at him at all. So by the time that the owner actually said, "Oh, he's so pretty and so fine," she was like, "Huh?" And like the young man just now, I thought I was looking at a celebrity, so she didn't even notice. Like how can you not even notice? Like you're really something. Unlike most people who are chasing the others these days, you have only eyes for your husband. And Taeha feels like exhausted just by hearing that because like other men don't seem to exist to you. So here are to some of the favorite panels. I'm going to say this personally, and I'll put it in the chat that you guys agree. I love it when Gainey puts the other characters in situations where we actually have to analyze what is going on because it actually describes their mindset. We are seeing Taeha in a casino, and there's actually a tweet, a Twitter thread that I posted up into the deep discussions chat. I highly recommend that you guys check it out. Essentially about the fact that Taeha is actually just going all in, but I will actually link it right now because I loved it. I particularly love it. And also reference the what is it called? The cards that were used in this scene, and I will actually break it down. So here you guys go. Because I really liked it. It's in the chat. Anyways, so Taeha is looking and it stated at first, I just hoped you wouldn't be too busy, that you wouldn't be exhausted, so that your nightless nights would feel a little less short. Then I hoped you wouldn't get sick. So it felt like at first he was kind of hoping that she wouldn't get tired. Then it was getting worse, that she wouldn't be sick, that you wouldn't feel cold. Um, and I wish that you would smile, even just a little. And then we see Hae Soo progressively getting sick. And this just kind of reminded me the fact that, guys, remember what happened after chapter 18, right? She instantly fell, like she instantly became ill because it turns out she was actually having a fever for all of those weeks and she didn't even go to the hospital or anything. So we're actually kind of seeing the fact that, she ends up like this is how like her fever started and she actually never really just taken care of herself. So and they'll ask like, oh, are you feeling pale, are you okay, and like don't apologize. So she ends up going outside for some fresh air, and now Mincheol finally calls her, and you would think that her husband of 13 years will call to kind of like check up on her and everything like that, but no. He asks where's the food. So she says the side dishes are in the fridge and the stew's in the kitchen, just heat it and eat. So then he asks for short braids ribs. And she said that she was apologizing, and she'll definitely make it next time. So now Hae Soo decides to ask, like, how did the interview go? And I think this was just a little bit before chapter 1. Like, this is before the events of the story happened. So I think this is like the prequel before Tears on a Withered Flower. And she asked, how did the interview go? I'm not trying to pressure you or anything. I was just nervous. And then we get to see the repercussions of like Mincheol kind of losing it on her. She's like, no, I'm not doubting you. I'm sorry. Don't be mad. And it was unnecessary for me to say anything. So she's trying to backtrack of even asking a simple question. Kind of sad to really see. So after she drops the phone, she ends up collapsing and crying. And Taeha hears the entire thing. So he says, I wish you would smile. And then we get a full view of him kind of looking directly at the audience in the casino. Now, something to take of note. He has a 9 of diamonds and an ace of spades. And he decides to go all in. And the person that he's going all in, who has all the chips, is Hae Soo. And this was the same doll that we saw in chapter 26 that Taeha ended up stringing and repairing back again after the events of everything that happened. So he said, and he made a declaration, because if we remember, for the last few chapters, Taeha was kind of moving back and forth between, do I become cruel to Mincheol, or do I let, nature takes its course? And he declared, from now on, I'll be utterly cruel to him. I'll push him away in my own way. Wound him in ways you would never wish for. I plan to cut him out and take his place. But then he thinks to himself, what do you think, Hae Soo? Will you be able to forgive me? Will you be able to handle me? I who deceives you. So he understands that lying to her is not going to make everything right and makes him cry. And then the bodyguard informs him he's visiting the bank. It seems to be about a loan. And that is how we end off chapter 67 of Tears on a Withered Flower. All right, all right. So I
Oh,
also have,
that's a lot of
it's a,
info.
it is a lot of info. It is a lot of info. It's a lot of info indeed.
It really is. Um, I do want to say though that I really like how Ari's friend really tried to talk some sense into her, and it was really interesting to me how defensive that Ari got during that whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like came across to me as like, how dare you question me and question Mincheol. I'm like, girl, oh my
Mm.
gosh, this girl.
I have so much to say about that whole situation. So much. Madam
Spill that
Boyd, are
tea.
you with spill that tea? Madam Boyd, are you with us? Before I start spilling tea and
I am here. Um, I'm just marinating because I'm ready to drag Ari, but I'm gonna let y'all do it first.
okay, well, would you like me to let the chopper sing first? Because I got things to say.
Yes, please. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go.
Serve it.
Because honey has been jumping the gun and making a fool of herself. And I said this on Thursday. Madam has been dripping in delusion since chapter 13, where she said
Yes.
she wanted to marry Opa. And the response from Minchal wasn't encouraging. He said, ugh, like basically like she punched him in the face. And she like
Mm-hmm.
got defensive. And she was like, well, I didn't plan to get married early. And they were like, not even that many months in, they were still going to motels and hotels and holiday inns. And he was not encouraging of her whole idea that she wanted to marry him. Right? Now, chapter 16, he had her friend who was trying to give her the warning that the gentleman that she's dealing with is a little shady because he's not inviting her to the house. And she pressed him about it. And going back to what Study Buddy said in the recap, I don't think that Minchal went too far into his past. I do know for chapter 16, he said he ain't got no money, he ain't got no family, he's a loser with you know,
Nothing to offer.
petty with nothing to offer. Literally, he said it just like that. He's been
Yep.
trying to discourage this woman because I'm not going to give her a little girl. She's not a little girl. She is 26 at this point. We've already gone into the new year. The 25 is done. She is 26 now. If you consider it from a Korean standpoint, Miss Mamas is old enough to know better, but she is too delusional to do better, and she is willing to discard anyone and disregard anyone who tells her anything other than what she wants to hear. Even Minchal.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps talking about you don't know Minchal how I know Minchal. You know nothing about Minchal. If you knew
Mm-hmm.
anything about Minchal, you would know that every time he's talked to you about intimate facts about his life, he was never talking about you. He was talking about Hae Soo. And he never encouraged her ever consider that marriage was an option. He said, be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. Like, I am tired. I am exhausted. And I told y'all last week that that lady ain't pregnant. That whole situation in the car happened 3 months ago, at the very least. And she
You
told
had
him it was
hope.
a safe day.
I had hope.
I had no hope. Logistically, shooters don't shoot like that. She could have
I
had a
know.
cryptic present. She could have had a cryptic present pregnancy. That is very clear. But even Minchal has not been deceptive in that way with her because beyond the instance in the car where she said it was a safe day and the fact that he was trauma fucking her because of Nahe So, which was days ago before she took the pregnancy test, he used protection. So this idea that Minchall's ready for marriage when y'all already are shacked up and he never ever said out his mouth, I want to marry you, is too much. He's doing the
You think
most.
she's still gonna lie that she is pregnant though? Because I said that
She's
she
gonna
isn't
try.
pregnant. She's not. I said in a Reddit post, and I think I discussed it. Is like I don't think she. I obviously we know she's not pregnant, but she's definitely is now not pregnant. But she still has the potential to lie because she's
She
now
Yeah.
got
had on.
it.
She
Oh
wants to be
yeah.
married. So I mean, she's willing to do it, but man, this is a mess because he's taking out. It seems like he's going to try and either move the loans to his name or take out loans in Ari's name, if it's even possible to do so. And if he finds out that he has to marry her to do so, well, she will get her wish. That's for sure.
The wish, she don't even know what she wishing for because she trying to get her eggs cracked and her name changed, and she about to take on the hell that Hae Soo had to deal with and thankfully escape from. And I'm just watching her be a straight up fool in a way that Nahe So wasn't. Because Nahe So doesn't push people away when they give her information that she doesn't agree with. She listens or she doesn't listen and she goes about her day. She doesn't like isolate herself from people and she hears things all around her when she's not absorbed in Mincheol. And I just
That's
Mhm.
dropping too. All right, eavesdropping on other people.
I wouldn't be surprised
Mhm.
if he laid out that pregnancy test on the sink with the stick. Maybe at this point, she might even draw on the damn extra line on the pregnancy
Mhm.
test in order to trap Mincheol. I wouldn't be surprised. She is the limit for me. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, she could be free, but she wants to trap him and trap herself in the most miserable situation. And she reminds me of homegirls that I've had where I was like, yo, none of what you said about that man makes sense. And then
Mhm.
I just stop talking and I'd be like, uh-huh, that's great. And then they come
But I
back and
Mhm.
love
say,
him.
can I say,
Mhm.
give me my
That's
Mhm.
always the
baby.
response though. I love him.
You don't love
I
your
love
baby.
him. And I'm just like, oh boy. And I'm trying not to roll my eyes. Sorry.
Nobody
Didn't mean to
understands you
interrupt.
like I do. No, but it's real. This is real. And I'm like, girl, he ain't even encouraging you. He's not even saying have my baby. He's not even saying, hey, I want to be with you forever. He don't even let that come out his mouth. And somehow, some way, this girl has spun her whole life into thinking that he's the one when he ain't even committing. He has not committed once to nothing.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I
I'm
agree
gonna let
with
her have
all of
it.
that. Ari is stupid. I'm sorry. I just
Dumb.
can't. Like I I spent the past few chapters giving this girl the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just like, no, homegirl, you're dumb. You're just really
Nah.
dumb. She is the
Yeah.
worst type of pick me because there's two types of pick me's. The one that's just really desperate to have a man, and the one that is desperate enough to do anything to have a man, regardless of how terrible that man is. The like, oh, I
Mhm.
just picked up a homeless man off the street, gave him a shower and a bed, and now I won't let him leave. This is
Yep.
Ari. This is
Yep.
literally
Mhm.
her. The fact that she is willing to end the friendship or just walk away from her friends to defend a man that has never said to her, I love you. Like, this man does not love you. This man hasn't said, I want you to be my girlfriend. Let's be in a relationship together. Their entire
Yeah.
relationship is just based on his circumstance of needing to get out of the house, wanting to have a jump off at work because he was egged on by the other employees. It was never organic. It's all just been based on lust. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's
Very much
nothing
so.
there. Yeah. And the
Very much
idea
so.
that she wants to have a kid to kind of keep him in the relationship or to make the relationship work, like, that is absolutely the worst goddamn reason to have a child. Now you're going to bring life into this world to completely ruin it, to keep a man who obviously doesn't want to be there. If you're that scared and you feel like you need to have a kid just to keep him, then it's not working. He's not for you. The relationship is not, like, it's one sided.
Very much so.
I
And to that, I just want to read Nettie's comment like super
Mhm.
quick, and then I'll pitch it back to you, because it's very like on point with what you're talking about right now.
Mhm.
So Nettie says Ari's vision right now is that she wants to get pregnant to tie down Mincheol. It is also just a hint of that, and in parentheses, since her friend asked Ari what it is she's so afraid of. She's losing a hold of him. In her eyes, he's slipping. It's no longer that happy like in the beginning. Minchol probably smiles less, treats her more harshly, etc., and her mind is unconsciously panicking. And I think that is so on point.
Yeah.
And the thing is that everybody around Ari can see it but Ari. So
Mm.
sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting, Madam Void. I
No,
yield the
no,
floor to you.
that's fine. Thank you. Nettie is absolutely right. Ari is in a situation where that connection that they once had, she's no longer feeling it. She's starting to feel the distance, and she's probably thinking it's herself. So she's, the way I see it, she's trying to morph herself and change herself to kind of fit his needs, to make herself more
Yes,
desirable. And that's what
very
her
much
friends
so.
mean. Yeah, that's what her friend means when she says, since you've been with him, you've been a little like you're not yourself. You are becoming someone completely different. And you should never, in any type of relationship, shrink yourself, morph yourself, mold yourself to fit the other
Mhm.
person, because you will lose yourself in that process. And I think that's something that Hae Soo also went through.
Yes, I was
She was
just about to
constant
bring that up.
Yeah, she was constantly shifting and moving in a way that would make him happy or make him want to stay around, but we saw what that did to her.
Yes,
So it's
and I think a lot of that too was just, because he was her first love, talking about Hae Soo. And I feel like sometimes, like when you get into a situation, when you don't want to be alone,
Mhm.
and you have this negative person who says they love you, and they're constantly nitpicking at you, they're picking away at you slowly but surely. And I feel like this is what happened to her. I feel like
Mhm.
what he did was he's like one of those people, like a sculptor that just starts chipping at a piece
Mhm.
of like marble or something. And I feel like, I think at first he didn't realize what he was doing, but then I want to say later on in the relationship, I think he kind of figured out what he was doing. And I think he was just slowly chipping away at her to sculpt her how he wanted her to be. I think I feel like Minchol is now one of those people that are just fucking miserable. And because they are miserable, they're going to do whatever they can to make other people around them just as miserable.
Mhm.
Because I feel like his mentality is, if I'm going to suffer, I'm going to make all y'all motherfuckers suffer. Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the like to me, that's the kind of asshole he comes across. He's
Yeah.
very selfish, he's very narcissistic. He's, I don't know, he to me, I just feel like he kind of maybe didn't start off doing it on purpose, but he chipped at her away so much that she had to depend on him,
Yeah.
and I hate it. It just makes me mad when I think about it personally.
I'm honestly like sad for both of these women because you just see
Mhm.
like how like even though Nahiso is pretty much isolated already, and I still think to this day the reason why Minchel chose her was because she was a very easy target. Like she had no real family like he did, and so that means that that's a perfect woman
Mhm.
for him to depend on him. And it was just like, oh boy, like seeing Ari like willingly isolate herself, seeing Nahe So how she was before chapter 1 of this story, and seeing that literally she was going about her days. thinking about Mincheol, making sure Mincheol's fed, making sure Mincheol's happy. And it's like the more backstory I keep getting, the more I get insight into what happened before, chapter 1, the more angry I get, because it's like you see her literally just, you see Hae Soo just working. She literally was just like, Mincheol doesn't text me. And I'm thinking to myself, Mincheol wasn't working before chapter 4. So what was Mincheol doing? And it's like, he could have texted her. He could have texted her, hey, are you okay? He could have said, hey, I'm going to do some labor jobs. Because if that was what he was doing before, hi, Aki. If that was what he was doing before in the small town, then he could have worked a labor job to be able to, assure that the family was okay. But he did not. He was drinking, sitting around, rotting away and being a waste of space, and then angrily talking to his wife, who was working part-time jobs to pay off a debt that he took out in her name. And it's like, I just keep seeing more of their past, and I'm just like, I'm getting pissed. I'm getting more upset.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
say something to that?
Yeah.
And then we also have Loletta, who is requesting to speak. So I just, I'm trying to put her on deck. Just a FYI, but go ahead.
Okay, because before I forget this, Study Bunny, because of what you're saying, it just made me realize something, and I feel like maybe I'm the only one who overlooked this. So right now, I don't know if it's the red pill man type of thing, but a lot of men, they want to be wanted or feel like they're needed for a specific reason. They want to be depended on, right? So Mincheol put himself in a situation with someone he knew would be dependent on him. So he could feel like a provider, so he could feel like a real man, like he's doing something good, right? But once the roles started to shift and Hae Soo had to become the breadwinner, she's the one who's working, she's the provider, she no longer needs him for what he put himself there for. That's when his attitude towards her started to shift. He doesn't like a woman who can be independent or self-sufficient. So now that he's with Ari, who doesn't need him for those things, he's just thinking, I'm going to be here for shelter and sex. That's it.
Yeah,
He knows
pretty
he
much.
can no longer go home. He's just there for shelter and sex. But now she's wanting more from him, just to be the husband, the father, just her little boo thing in the house. He's losing it because there's nothing for him to do. There's no other reason for him to be needed. So he can't reconcile being in a situation where he just has to be what he was with Hae Soo when she was working. That's why he's pissed. He would much rather go back to someone that he's broken down already, because he knows he can do it again. And she can fall back into that space. If she can fall back into that space while he still has that job and he's making the money, and he, in his mind, probably thinks he can pay off those debts, then she can become the stay-at-home wife, the one who relies on him for everything, and he can have that happy life that he sees in his mind where he's the one who does everything. This man is insane. He is fucking
really
insane.
is.
I don't think he's that methodical, y'all. I think we give him a lot of benefit that he doesn't have. I do think, honestly, and I hate to have to do this because I do not like Mincheol. And I need that to be known real quick, real fast. I think he is the scum of the earth, right? But in his mind, his end game was always not Hae Soo. The problem with Mincheol is among the narcissism, he's never had anyone he could have a teenage tantrum with. And unfortunately, Nahe So has been the recipient of all his depression, his ire, his anger at life, his need to continue to be the golden boy that everyone saw, his disappointment in his own failures, in his perceptions that the failures that he has projected them onto Nahe So simply because she's the only one who ever was there in the real end. And that is such a sick thing to do. It is disgusting. And he spoiled him. He spoiled him. And he is in his post puberty teenage dream stage where it's everybody's fault but his own. He has his
Yes.
problems. He he talks back. And poor Naheso has never had a friend.
Mm-mm.
Never.
She really
He's had
hasn't.
never. Nobody ever for Naheso has ever stood up for her, hung around her. You've seen pictures of her sitting in alleyways covered in bruises. No one has ever protected her. And he was the only one who did until he didn't.
Yeah.
Because he is a maladjusted, malcontent idiot. He's an idiot. And unfortunately, he has been the recipient of all of the things that he couldn't do with his parents, his grandmother, his friends, his everything. She has become the burden. She has to bear the burden of every last thing that he could not do to be an adjusted adult. And that is so sick and that's so sad. And I hate everything about it. What
It's
I
kind
do
of
It really
worse
understand.
is.
because it's kind of worse because he's technically blaming himself because in that scene, and the reason why Gabe put it in that particular scene was because that was when Mincheol was talking about his dream for a nice house, warm food, and a child that kind of looks like
Mm-hmm.
him and his partner. And the thing is that he blames and resents Naheso for not probably allowing him to attain that dream of having the what I call the American dream just in Korea, where he can basically be the man of the house, have someone to dote on him, and he can feel like this pride that he's a little bit authoritative about like the little things that go on in his life. And the strange thing is that he technically now has this opportunity with Ari, and if Naheso actually made him that miserable, and Naheso really pissed him off that much. He would have taken this chance with Ari and given her what she wanted because Ari wants it. Ari wants the happy home and everything and is willing to provide it for Mincheol. But Mincheol doesn't want it to be Ari. He wants it to be Hae Soo, which is very
Yes.
hypocritical because it's like you see panels of him saying, oh, Na Hae Soo is a mistake of my youth. Na Hae Soo is this, that, and the third. And even when after he got caught, even when he knows that Nahiso saw everything that happened on their wedding day and this, that, and the third. He knows subconsciously in his mind. Mincheol's aware. Mincheol is aware, and that is why that scene that happened in chapter 59 was like, despite it being gross, it was important. He knows that Nahiso moved on. He knows that Nahiso probably left, and he saw the man that she left with, that she moved on with.
I
That's
don't
the
think
thing.
that he knows. I don't think
Yeah.
he knows that Nahe. So we're giving him way too much benefit of the doubt. The same way we like. I don't think he knows. He's always Nahe. So has always been his end game, and even when he says the most disgusting, awful, degrading things about Nahe, so there has never been a moment that Nahe so was not the end game for him. Unfortunately, also, he's like, Nahe so never known another man other than me. She will never know another man other than me. She will never go anywhere. She will stay in this house. And even if it's subliminally like convincing himself to hypnotize himself that she's never going to go anywhere, he does not consider Taeha as a man that Nahe so would go to. He may be able to take her body, but he cannot take Nahe so because he belongs to him and he is the only one who can ever ruin her and build her back up. And the idea that he thinks that Teha, I don't think he knows that Teha is the end game, but he will know. And when he does know, that is going to be the biggest spiral. And I see people keep saying that, like, oh, well, Ari is willing. He's never worried about no Ari. Ari has always been a treat, an escape, a reprieve, but she has never ever been in his mind
Second
ever.
option.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
true.
Ari is
She's
so
never
And
been.
shelter.
and I'm gonna read a couple of comments if that's okay because there's been some really good points made in the chat.
Mhm.
So Aki, and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly, but Aki was saying earlier, now that you mentioned that, has there been a chapter where Mincheol has expediently stated what their situation is?
Mm-mm.
He's never once told her that he sees her as his girlfriend, right? Or maybe I've forgotten if he did. And honestly, I think that's kind of on brand because if you really think about it, Aki is right here. Like they've never really defined their relationship between Ari and Mincheol. They've never really said what they are. I think what's happened is because I feel like there's a don't ask, don't tell type of thing going on. I don't know if that's the vibe you guys are getting, but I feel like Ari's kind of afraid to push the issue because I feel like she kind of knows how Mincheol is going to react. And Mincheol's not going to say anything because he just doesn't want to deal with the headache. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from that. Um, and then let me see. Nettie was also saying too, um, going back to Aki's previous comment, literally never went from fling to living with each other after Hae Soo kicked his ass out. And then Rahima was also saying too, air slowly going down the same path Hae Soo, oh sorry, Ari, I can read, slowly going down the same path Hae Soo went through, is sad to see the state she's putting herself in being with someone who doesn't actually love her and is just using her for intimacy and is becoming more harsh towards her. And we can definitely see this coming. Yeah, there's some very good comments right now, and I'm trying to like go through them all. um, but I did want to read the comment Nettie just put up. She says, "For all Jesus' life, the only light was Mincheol, and sadly, as it is in some sort, she sold her soul for him, because back then that loving warmth she craves all her life was Mincheol, and that's why she was never mad at him. Why she desperately cling to this marriage after even divorce, after when they groveling, I think that's what that's supposed to mean, and why she wanted to give him everything while she was only a shell of a body. She was clinging to his warmth she experienced in her youth, and the reason Mincheol's coldness is their strange situation. Until she met Taeha, and her heart realized what real warmth and being cherished is, while her mind is trying to deny everything, it's just temporary, and she's no longer deserving of love. I feel like that's a very strong comment here because I feel like this. I think this is a really good comment because I feel like this kind of encapsulates like what's going on with the story, because this is really true. Like, Hey Sue is just now kind of learning that it's okay to like want things for yourself, and she's learning that it's okay that for her to hope for something, that for her seems unattainable, i.e., being with Taeha, who is a much younger man. But I mean, in this story, like she is really the comeback kid, or at least that's what I think anyway.
I honestly think it's a matter of agency. Naiso didn't really choose her situation. She tried to maintain it because it's the only thing she ever knew. The only semi-positive relationship she ever had. And when we get to Ari, Yoon Ari, agency meaning the ability to choose and access and do with your own autonomy, Yoon Ari is choosing to walk into hell.
She
Just
really is.
like Mincheol said in chapter 17, she chooses to walk into this hell. No one's forcing her there. Not even Mincheol. He's trying to force her out of it. Like every time she goes down the slope, he's like, "I'm not doing this with you. Not gonna do what you say." And then they're at a stalemate, and she's
Yep.
shrill and screaming. Whereas he's like, "I'm not doing this with you," and she's like, "Well, why not?" Thing about it is she chooses this hell. She has autonomy. She has agency. She has the ability to not choose it, but she's choosing it, and she chooses it every time, to her own detriment. While everybody around her, shit, even including Mincheol, is just like, "No, mama." No. And
Yeah.
that's crazy to me. I'm just
It really is. It really is. But you know what else that I wanted to kind of talk about too? I kind of want to talk about like the story that she told sorry, let me backtrack because you guys
ghost
can't read my mind.
story.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that ghost story that Hae Soo told Taeha. Cuz I
Mm.
really love how we're getting like a pre-flat well, a flashback that happens right before chapter 1. So I will admit that when I first started reading the series, I was like, okay, am I reading like a psycho story? Like, is this dude a stalker? I mean, he was like raising up all kinds of red flags for me. And I would go like back and forth. And it took me like maybe 30 something chapters to realize, okay, maybe he's not a stalker. Maybe he just really loves her. Um, but I will say that I find it, interesting how much of like I think it's interesting that she called it a ghost story because Taeha really is like a ghost.
Yeah.
Um and it and I was kind of I mean, it was really interesting also to see that conversation between Hae Soo and Mincheol, cuz I mean, let's face it, like if your spouse goes on an interview, especially when they haven't had one in like ages, the logical thing you're going to ask is, hey, how did it go? And the fact that he got like defensive with her, it's like, bro, simmer down. And I feel like now we're kind of getting some answers. I feel like I had a theory, right? When we found out that Minchel was a parachute hire, I had a
Mm-hmm.
theory that maybe Taeha made sure he got a job because he was trying to help out Hae
Yep.
Soo. And when he found out what a shitty person Minshit was, that's when he was like, okay, I'm going to go after her. So I kind of feel like this is kind of true. And I'm
It is
sorry, maybe I'm just trying to toot my own horn because this is the second theory that I had that was right. And Study Bunny, is this how you feel like all the time?
it's true though. You were right. When we saw that little conversation of like Minchel screaming at Hae Soo and her breaking down and crying, I was like, oh, Auntie Laura's theory was correct. He gave that job out of the kindness of his heart. He ruined it. He ruined his chance. So it's just like, yeah, whatever's coming to him, he deserves it.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see it. I have never prayed for somebody's downfall the way I pray for his because he deserves every ounce of it. Um, I just want to say I love Teha in a special way with his murderous, crazy ass. He really
Mhm.
he would have been content to remain a ghost unseen for the rest of his life. He just wanted to help because she helped
Mm-hmm.
him in the
Yep.
past. We don't know how many times, but at least once he reached out to him and provided him with a kind of tenderness and care that he probably hadn't received. And she did it in such a way that even she forsaked herself because she needed care too. But she cared for
Mhm.
You
him
really did.
despite the fact that she was hurt too. And that really impacted him. We still don't know. I honestly think it has been at least 10 years, which is the significance of those roses beyond it being a 10-year age gap. I think honestly, Teha had to pivot. He kept pivoting and gambling on getting her to notice him and finally like recognize him so many times because he went from being her guardian angel to potentially the love her of her life because he really wanted to save her the way she saved him.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
I am I there's so much more that's going to come out, but I can see how harmful mentally that was for him to watch the woman that he really wanted to help continue to cry and slowly but surely break apart while he watches. And he
Yeah.
always, everything he could give her, he tried. Safety, security, some money in their pockets simply because he wanted to help her because she was selfless in helping him. And the man who was supposed to help her drag her out of debt just was dragging her down, breaking her down, and hitting her with verbal abuse over and over again to the point where she stopped even being able to talk to the man. And then he resented the fact that she wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
That was
Mhm.
can't stand it.
He's a real piece of shit.
Piece of
Yeah.
shit.
Chapter 15 now has a lot more significance now because this was probably so I now realize that like chapter 15 was like more poignant than we actually can imagine because he that was the time that Taeha saw and knew that how badly like Mincheol was as a person, and he realized that even though his act of kindness of giving him the job was supposed to help Hae Soo in the end, it actually made things way worse for Hae Soo because he probably never seen her, that depressed and broken before throughout all his years of like observing her. So like seeing her not even be able to like see anything in the world, see the first snowfall, and even to be able to recognize the rain, he was just like, I can't. Like he's got to go. He has to go.
That'd be so cute. I don't even think that Taeha even thought about just. I'm gonna be honest with you because he in the date chapter where it was nice and shiny when we were talking about the one girl who was like Taehi's little
Friend.
sycophant friend, fangirl, whatever she was. Although she loved Taeha, when he told her, when he told Naheso that that lady was reading his face and he was supposed to, he was a person who's supposed to die young. I don't think that Taeha ever thought about staying around for very long. And
Mm.
I wouldn't
Hmm.
be surprised if Naheso gave him a purpose.
With all the
You
self harm
know,
marks on his arm, because self harm marks are vertical, so it is clear that
Mhm.
he had it before. And in chapter 11, we saw like how bloody it was. So I
hmm
mean, it was probably right after like he got the tattoo. Yeah, it was probably right after he got the tattoo that he was like, okay, I'm going to be looking at Hae Soo. That
Yeah, because the
Wait,
tattoo
maybe.
can I?
wasn't there when he was when he was beating Taehi's behind when he was younger. It was the marks were there, but the tattoo was not. I honestly think that he decided that she gave him a purpose, and he decided to go for it.
Mhm. Was
I
just
think I
comfortable.
agree to that. I mean, because sometimes you can get in a really, really dark place, and all it takes is just one small thing to kind of like get your mind out of those really dark places. Like, I was in a really dark place once, and it was so bad I did not want to get out of bed. All I wanted to do was just lay
Mhm.
there and stare at the wall. But I had to make a birthday cake for somebody's child. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and just make this cake, and then that way I can just do whatever. It's a birthday cake. But let me tell you, that gave me a sense of purpose. And whereas it did not totally take out, I know this is going to sound melodramatic, but for a lack of a better way to put it, it brought me out of the darkness long enough for me to say, you know what? Maybe things aren't going to be that bad. And sometimes you
Mhm.
just need that one little thing, no matter how small it is, and it will help you climb out of the hole that you're in. And then once you have that, it's like a pebble of hope. It's a little small pebble, but if you can cling to it, it will get you through the worst of times. And I feel like Hae Soo was Taeha's pebble of hope, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the catalyst is all he ever wanted to do was see her smile. And he did not have a good life. And
No,
the
he
fact that
didn't.
he wanted to see her smile is the reason that he did the things that he did. is it means a lot to me. And I honestly
Yeah,
can understand where you're coming from when you're talking about, like we all have our journeys and we have our moments where it becomes
definitely.
overwhelming, it becomes too much. But that one beacon of light, that little piece of hope that you cling to in hopes of dragging yourself out of the depths of hell is something that I can resonate with. And over
Mhm.
and over
Mhm.
again, he said, I want to see you smile. And this woman has
Yeah.
no idea how much he was willing to sacrifice, how much he continues to be willing to sacrifice himself and
I
his
just
plan.
love that. Um, I just love that on one end, Taeha is getting Nahe Soo to a point where she's finally wanting things for herself and going after
Mm-hmm.
them. And from the beginning, besides giving him hope, she's the reason why he also started wanting something for himself.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's why he decided to go after her.
Mm-hmm.
Besides just seeing like how terribly Mincheol was treating her and how she was reacting to that in real time, I get the sense that Taeha is someone who, because he lived a life of being on the end of abuse and being hidden away, he probably never really wanted for much, or probably felt like he had no he had no right to want for anything. So to go from just wanting to see her smile, which is like the simplest thing, to actually wanting her for himself and doing
Mm-hmm.
everything he possibly can to do it, I don't know, like to me that's pretty incredible. Because he
But
Yep.
you
looked like he
know,
was this really lanky kid and now he's this big buff man
Mm.
who's a protector.
yes.
And
But you know
and
what I
she
was
did all
thinking
that.
too? There's
Mhm.
some there's also some parallels here.
Yeah,
But before I jump on that, and I am so sorry, I am so bad about interrupting. I hope you can forgive me. But I'm gonna
you're
let
fine.
you finish your tangent. I'm
No, that's
sorry. Don't mind me. I'm so sorry.
Girl, just go.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say is, and I'll say it like super quick. There's some parallels going on here. Because you have Taeha and Nahe Soo, right? They both grew up in very traumatic environments. They know they can see it in each other. And then you have Ari and Mincheol. Whereas Mincheol wasn't spoiled exactly, but he was used to having a certain amount of spoiling, I guess. I
Abused.
don't I don't know what the
He
exact word
was.
was, but
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
feel
privileged.
like yeah, I feel like Hae Soo did kind of spoil him in some ways, and we all know Ari is spoiled. And it's like the two people that, you know, I don't want to say that Mitchell grew up like happy go lucky because obviously he didn't, but he did have it better than Jesus. He didn't have somebody beating the shit out of him like every day. I mean, yeah, he was left on his own, but he had a certain amount of freedom that Jesus never had. So you have these two people that are used to getting their own way. Maybe that's the better way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
That are super fucking miserable together. And then you on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have two people who grew up in a very shitty, abusive environment, and they are learning what it means to be happy in one of the most beautiful ways I've ever seen. God bless Gay Name and her parallels. And that's all. That's the only point that I wanted to make. So, sorry.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point, actually.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think we're all
Oh
just
my
letting
god,
that marinate.
Yeah.
Listen,
that was a
Mitchell was
pin drop.
always so used to being told, "You're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty." To quote that crazy girl with the razor blade in the bathroom trying to cut up Nah So. I mean, we see it like he didn't live a life that was privileged, but he had more privilege than Nah So. And people always gathered around him, and he had fans and defenders to the point where they degraded Hae Soo as well when they noticed that he wasn't living the life that they thought he deserved. And
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of life she would have had if he had left her alone. Like, would she had been able to get out of her parents' house on her own and actually like want for things and maybe finally make friends and stuff like that? Or I don't know. I always think about that because I just feel like damn, this girl wasn't even given a chance. Just never was. All because some man looked at her and thought, yes, that's exactly what I want, and I'm going to do everything to get it. And he was such an ass that once he had her, he didn't think, I'm going to treat this woman like a queen that I think she is. He did the opposite of everything he should have done. And I just don't, that's something I'll never be able to understand. Like, if he genuinely loved her like he thinks he did, how could you just hurt her every day that way? And he knows that that's what he was doing. Like, Mincheol, I'll say this. Mincheol, he is delusional, but he's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. So I'll never give him an excuse or a way out of that. He knows exactly what he's doing because he doesn't do that to Ari.
He can't.
Yeah, he probably could, and she would probably allow it, you know. But when they get into situations where they're gonna have an argument, he always walks away or he stops mid sentence. He doesn't go further, but he did that with Hae Soo. Maybe it could be a comfort thing, like he's more familiar with Hae Soo, so he feels like he can do that. Like,
Yeah,
I
I was
can
just
argue
gonna
with
say
my
that.
mom. Yeah, I
Knows
can
where to
argue
push.
with my mom, but I can't argue with other people because I'm comfortable enough with my mother to at least be angry, whereas with other people, I'm not. So it could be a situation like that for him.
Yes.
He's not comfortable enough with her to be angry and go that far. Or maybe he feels like if he does go that far, I don't have my name on the lease. I have no claim to this place, you know? But just seeing the difference between how he treats both women, it kind of pisses me off.
It really
Listen, but
does. I mean, it does me too. I mean, I think the best case of that would be like when we get the flashback when Hae Soo is wearing her thermals and he's doing like the blushy, teenager thing, and then he thinks like about how later on, she's wearing her thermals and he's like, "Oh my god, you look so shabby. No man wants you," like that kind of thing. And I
nagging.
almost wonder if maybe when he thought about that, I wonder if he realized how bad he made her feel. You know what I mean? Like how you were wondering about Hae Soo, like I kind of wonder if when he looks back on things, like I really want to know if if he is starting to realize how shitty he's been. Cuz if he hasn't shown it. Or at least there's been no indication of that. But I would like to get some inner dialogue on how he feels
There
whenever he looks
was
back.
there was the time he did look back. That was chapter 56. He
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about how cool she was, and it was still centered around him, like literally. So I can read the monologue that he had. Naheso can't stand the cold. That dreadful semi-basement that's freezing cold every winter. Anyone would feel weak in a place like that. Your small, red, and cold hands shivered. This was the version of you who was always battling a cold. You were born there. But you were too fragile to continue living there. So then they were talking about the cold thermals and everything, and he gifted her the thermals. Yeah, he said like it was skin tone and everything. I said I wouldn't laugh. So then he was thinking about the fact that being in a relationship with Hae Soo is something so sad that it wouldn't make him laugh. Something sad. Imagine breaking up with not Hae Soo. Fuck. That makes no sense. How could I break up with not Hae Soo? Suddenly I feel really sad and I can't do anything. So then she's a baddie. So obviously she looked really
Mm-hmm.
good in It didn't look weird, and the man probably came hard immediately. But he said he wouldn't react. But this is when he started remembering. You shouldn't wear soft. You should stop wearing things like that. One look at your clothes is enough to turn me off. So he remembers. He recognizes. He knows what he's done. He knows what. When did it start, Hae Soo? When did you stop telling me that winter felt cold?
Whenever
He
you
knows.
would basically abuse
He
her
hasn't
verbally every time she said anything,
hasn't
like, bruh.
hasn't gotten the point. He hasn't gotten to the point that it's his fault though. He's thinking that he's still in the right for everything. He still thinks
Yes.
that everything is still okay.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Mm-hmm.
literally it. And he's seeing, and he knows, he remembers what he has said to her. He has remembered what he has done to her. He has remembered the things that he inflicted on her. He still remembers how she was abused when she was a kid, and still he does not understand, and he does not get, and he does not feel remorse or regret for anything that he has done. And literally, if I found him on the street, and so I would beat the shit out of him, someone would have to arrest me, because it's just like, the more, like, even if I were to get this backstory that Mincheol's defenders are saying will be able to get us to understand everything about him, it will still be selfish at the end of the day. Still be
It really
selfish.
would.
It will still be selfish. It will still, at the end of the day, I think I'll even be more mad, because it's like, oh, so he knows how to behave, he knows how to act, he knows how to do well, but yet he still chooses to act like this.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
He doesn't know how to act or do well. We've seen him at work. He's out there beating people up in the alleyway. He don't know how to do well. We're giving him too much credit. He is a disaster, a self-destructive disaster who has no true awareness of how horrible of a person he actually is, which is wild because he's looking around like, who did that?
But
Why did she
Exactly.
talk
who
to me?
who has he beaten up at work, and why did he beat them up? Besides that
That's
one guy who was talking about Hae Soo when he crashed out, the other instances before, he was getting on people for talking about things at work that they shouldn't have been talking about. I wouldn't necessarily say that that was him being a bad employee, because
you
why are
don't put your
you
hands on people. You don't
that is
at
true.
work.
Yeah.
He crashed out that one time, yeah. But in the other instances, like, I don't know. I give him a pass for that, because I'm gonna just leave it at that. I don't want
Yeah,
to
I
sound
get
like I'm
it.
defending this man.
I
I
want to
mean, I
defend the
can.
assistant manager
I'm
either
not about
because
to be
he's not
Vera.
right.
No way.
I'm like,
No, because the
but
way he
you
was
don't do
talking
it.
about the way he was talking about Hae Soo was absolutely disgusting. But I'm just like, that doesn't give him a pass at all. But the thing was, is that that's technically also his fault too, when I was analyzing the scene. Because Mincheol, everything that Mincheol has said, and I respect Gay so much for literally establishing, here's the rules for Mincheol's downfall. Every word he has said, every word that he has said about Hae Soo in the first 18 chapters of the story, the prologue to the actual story, is going to bite him in the butt. And he has stated to his coworkers that, oh, she's just a cousin, she's just a stranger, she's nothing.
Yeah.
So they didn't, okay, if he were to tell them that, oh, this is my ex-wife, they would actually lay hands off of her to talk about,
Yep.
him. But he said that, oh, they're just related. So it's like, oh, they only ask him, hey man, can you introduce us to her? She's very beautiful, this, that, and the third. So even though, yes, what they said was absolutely gross, the thing was, is that Mincheol set himself up to hear all these things, because he has
Yep.
never once said, oh yeah, Hae Soo is my wife. Yeah, this, that, and the third. So his little demonstration of power about seeing that, oh, she's the ex-wife and everything like that. That happened in chapter 53. Literally, him trying to be a big boy, it's his fault at the end of the day, because it's like, okay, you know how your coworkers are like, right? And you decide that, like, oh, I'm going to say that she's going to be like a stranger. like, oh yeah, she's married and the only person like she knows is her husband. And it's just like his little monologue after, it's like she doesn't even know how to look at anyone else, which is technically true because at some point she did not know how to look at anybody else.
It's
Um
true.
he said a withered flower drying in someone else's grip, boring until the end. I'm more than enough to ruin you. I was just like, you it makes me so mad.
Yeah, and just the fact of how he's like groping her too in that scene, it's just so disgusting. Like I feel like I need a like eye bleach after looking at that. I mean he's got well I thought he was grabbing her boob, but like the way he's like holding her by the throat. Oh, there it is. Yeah, he's like all up on her, getting a handful, and then he's like got her by the neck. I mean, I know the way I'm perceiving this is probably not as like malicious as what I'm making it out to be, but it just, I don't know, like anytime he tries to initiate anything with her, other than like the chapter we got with their first time, he is always trying to initiate sex from behind. He does it with Ari. And every time we've seen him try to do
I
it
like
with
in the
Nahe
faces.
Soo, yeah,
Yes,
he's
see my faces.
always trying to do
Like
it from
in my
behind.
face.
And I
He
just
just
kind of
wants
feel
to
like it's just so impersonal. And
Mm-hmm.
to me it's like an act of like domination. Or maybe I'm just reading into it more than I should, but it feels like to me it's like he's got a right to it and he's just going to take it. He's going to take what he wants and he'll get it
Because it's
whenever he
hers.
wants. And
Yes.
again, it could be just my perception. I mean, obviously, I don't have a degree in psychology, nothing like that, but it's just obnoxious and it's gross. You know,
Mhm.
I
Not
don't
only
know.
that, I just want to indicate something in the same. I don't think it's if it's the same chapter where they complain about him being a parachute hire. They
it
do say,
is.
"Hey, nobody likes him. Like everybody's fed up with him." So it's not that he's
Chapter.
yoking everybody up all the time, but there's other things that he's probably done attitude wise, the way he talks to people that is quite disrespectful, given that he is not a manager. He is a new hire. He does not have clout, but somehow he doesn't think about that at all. He has a very inflated sense of self that does not equate to his position in the world.
Does Mincheol know that he's a parachute hire?
I
No.
don't think he does.
No.
He
It's
don't-
clear that he doesn't know. And I think if he were to know that he was a parachute hire, I think he would be tracking a lot carefully. But then he'll start asking questions like, who got me this job? Who allowed me to have
Mhm.
connections to this job? I don't know anybody who can get me connections. So it's just like they think that I think the way that Taeha set it up is that he can get the job. Like they pretend that he actually got it out of merit.
Mhm.
Um, and so it was like a secret thing. And I still cannot believe that Taeha did that at the kindness of his heart, because that just showed that Taeha was literally planning of just seeing Hae Soo from afar. And as long as she was becoming healthier and happier again, that was all that was enough for him as a person to be able to handle. But Mincheol is not, Taeha has not actually really orchestrated anything of his Mincheol's downfall. It was all Mincheol's fault. Because if Mincheol was nice to Hae Soo and did not become more cruel after he got the job and didn't end up cheating on Hae Soo as well, they could have actually made it work. Which is
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah, and that's especially why he said, "I gave you a chance."
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
As soon
and
as
he
I
blew
read
it.
that, I was like, oh, and a couple of things clicked together. I was like,
Mhm.
all right, I see you. Because I always had this feeling that, like, I mean, I think sometimes we give Taeha too much credit for being a planner. I'm not saying that he doesn't do well with his plans, but sometimes I think, we overestimate his abilities. Because obviously, when
Mhm.
he gave, and I know this has been talked about, like, in the past, like, it was thought at one point the reason why Taeha got Mincheol the job was because he knew Ari worked there and, this, that, and the other. But I don't know, like, I feel like there's some things that you just can't account for. And, and I never, I think I might have thought that at one point, but I was like, well, I mean, some people just don't always gel together like that. So,
Yeah.
I think what turned out to be a fuck up, I think it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to Hae Soo. Either way you look at it, and I don't know if I would necessarily make this a parallel, but either way, it's a win-win for Hae Soo. Because if Min Shit would have just been a human being and a decent human being, I think they would have been able to patch up, maybe not patch up, but I think maybe they would have been able to, I think they would have been able to make some repairs or at least repair the line of communication, at least, right? But because he's not, and she ended up with Taeha, her life is going to be better. So if he would have been a good human being and just tried to work on the marriage, she would have benefited. And if not, Taeha would have been like the knight in shining armor, come to get her. Either way, she would have had it made, kind of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, either way, it was going to be a win-win for Hae Soo. But I think it was just, what path is this journey going to take? And because Min Shit is a shithead, he fucked himself over because he doesn't know how to keep it in his pants and he doesn't know how to be a good human being. Or at least that's how I see it.
He is not a good
No,
human being at all.
Mm-mm.
You're right. Oh
I knew
my.
Mincheol was useless from the moment. I think it was in the earlier chapters where Hae Soo still came home from work, working her 4 part-time jobs, did laundry, and was folding the clothes, and this man was just laying there watching TV. Like,
Yep.
you mean you were home all day long? You couldn't
Yep.
even do some housekeeping? This woman still had to come home and do all of that and then still cook?
Chapter
Yeah.
one. Chapter one, the ancientness just screamed. He over there with all them bottles. You couldn't even throw away the empty bottles. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
He
I
just
just
got
wish
back
grandma,
that she
from
had the
his
balls to
surgery.
take one of the bottle and just smack him over the head with it.
listen,
Yeah.
she was close. Every once in a while, her hands would shake, and it was either sadness or rage, but she just buried it deep down inside until she had to pull some of his ginger hair out by the roots.
Like,
Yep.
hey, Sue, you have free will. Fuck this man up,
He
please.
chose
Oh my
peace.
god.
He wanted to protect that one little bit of family she had because she don't have no family. She don't have no
Mm-hmm.
family. She had no one, and he was start. He actually created a community for herself, which I love. She has, the Korean barbecue place, the butcher family. The hotel
The
lady
flower
likes
shop,
her.
the
Yeah, the
motel
flower
lady.
shop boss likes her. Not Wei Jong. She can kick rocks, but
Yeah.
It's
but
kind of
Oh, poor
interesting
ponytail
that
girl.
the barbecue place employees and the motel employee and even the lady from the convenience store, like, they
yeah,
genuinely love her and care about her, but she feels like she doesn't have a friendship with them, and it's probably because the only time she sees them is when she goes to work.
yep,
She's
Yes.
only
Mm-hmm.
interacting with them on the clock, and I just, like, I wish at least one of them would be like, "Hey, I have a day off on this day, or I'm free at this time. Do you want to just go out and have coffee together, or like go to happy hour or something?" Like, if one of them could at least reach out to her so she feels a little more like, oh, this community is real. It's not restricted just to this shift or that shift. I think it would be a little bit better for her, but I
I
think
don't think
maybe I'm
she's
also,
ever thought of it, or I don't think they've ever thought of it.
yeah, I think they
Um,
could probably sense that she's a little guarded.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were pulling up on her like this. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love her.
But she's at least been open enough with the barbecue owner because he knows that Mincheol is the new job and
Mm-hmm.
issues
Is
with
a
the money and
different.
stuff. So it's like she felt comfortable enough to be open with him about that. But you don't think that's your friend? Come on, girl.
Well, you said that she only deals with people on the clock, but the problem with Nahe so is she's always on the clock. When
Yeah.
did she
True.
have time? She
Mhm.
was taking care of a man child when she got home, and she had like 3 jobs like a Jamaican. When she got time to hang out, she was scared to spend money on herself until she bought that $10 rose. She
Mm-hmm.
had no life. She was always even Wei Jong was like, "What are you, Hermione with the time turner?" Because her whole day has been plotted out from beginning
Mm-hmm.
to end to take care of her man child and his penchant for soju and cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Crazy.
it really
Lord,
Crazy.
I
is.
pray I
And
never find love like that. Oh my God.
I
I don't
pray
want
love like
anyone
that
to find love
for
like
my
that.
team because I've never
Ugh.
found. Give it to Ari. Give it to Ari because she loves love like that. Sorry.
I don't even think
Give
Ari
it to
knows.
Ari and double it.
I don't think Ari realizes like what's actually like. I don't think she realizes it, but she knows that this relationship is terrible. But I literally think that we're coming at a point like I'm really thinking about this because I really want to pivot from like talking about Mitchell because I really hate his ass. The
Mm,
fact that Taeha now wants to go through with his plan going full force. So in chapter
yeah.
50, he was kind of having this is when his dilemma started. So Mincheol was not Mincheol. Taeha was having his own dilemma. Taeha was having his dilemma of wanting to do things kind of his way, but he's recognizing with the fact ever since of what happened in chapter 58, he's saying like a part of me wants to tell him every unimaginable thing in excruciating detail, and the other part of me wants it to keep it buried simply because it's mine, no one else's. But still, I'm starting to want to get caught. How about you? If he still hurts, will you still hurt too? Abandon me and ultimately decide to return to him. So this was the first monologue of him deciding of like he wanted to be petty, like he's begging for a chance to be petty, and then he decides to be petty in chapter 57. But in chapter 58 he's having a dilemma again because of the fact that he got to see his plan carry out, and he's still thinking to himself, I still want to do more, but this hurts because you know what, I'm gonna see how Hae Soo is. But he finally got the reconfirmation that like Hae Soo still cares about him. So now that he knows that okay, Hae Soo cares about me deep down and Hae Soo loves me, at least I can be able to go through with my plan. But will she forgive me after everything I'm planning to do with him? Because I'm not planning on keeping this man alive. Um, yeah, and I think that we're going to see the repercussions of this. So everything, I feel like we're actually about to hit the climax at this point. Actually for real, because it's like I kind of said to myself one day that like the minute that Taeha decides that he's not going to care about like what Hae Soo thinks after he's done like dealing with Mincheol and like chopping him up to bits is the day that we're gonna actually see this man actually be put through hell. Like and it's gonna be petty shit too, because it's like he does not he has actually like a big ass grudge against Mincheol. And Mincheol doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know how much he hates. Like if anybody probably hates Mincheol more than all of us, it's Taeha. It's Beyond Taeha.
Yep.
I know we're all looking
Yeah.
forward for it. I just feel bad for
Yeah.
Lee J if he has to clean up that mess.
Yeah,
Well,
but you know what? He gets paid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paid
It's
to
all about
bear
them dollar bills.
Yeah. I
paid
don't
to
I
dig
don't think
holes in the
he cares
mountain.
that much.
No, he
Lee
don't
J is
like
just
to
gonna ask,
dig.
which ditch in the mountain do you want me to dig? Like, I don't think he
Yep.
cares if he kills that man.
You know what's funny? He actually kind of hates Mitchell himself too.
Yeah.
He thinks it was too funny because what is it? In the panel after Hae Soo decided like, oh, I can't remember, it was 55 or 56. I think I'm having all of the chapters come with a blur. Yeah, no, I think, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what chapter. It was him coming down the stairs. I think it was the previous chapter right after. Yes, chapter 54. And when he came down the stairs at Hae Soo's apartment after she decided to put a hickey on him, oh, Hae Soo, you got
Yeah.
away with it. I just kidding. She got away with it. He was literally calling him an absolute bum. It was actually funny. He roasted him. I just want to read it because I love Lee J's insult. He insults everybody within this series.
Yeah, he really
Uh,
does. He's like the best straight man for this because it's like he's like an observer. He just sees things, and I just love his inner dialogue sometimes because he knows these rich people are crazy. But he's like, you know what? I'm getting a paycheck, so I don't care. Just keep paying me. I'll do whatever crazy shit you want. That's just how Lee J rolls.
Poor Lee J.
yeah,
He's still in danger.
He is. But Lee J is gonna look out for Lee J.
And Taeha too. Taeha too, because he said I'm gonna ignore them rings.
yeah. He said, ex-husband. What about him? Didn't that relationship end already? He's been living off his young girlfriend, and there's no children in the picture. He dumped all his debt on his ex, so there's nothing left to tie him down. It doesn't seem like he's
Oh,
got He's like, well, he's a leech now, so I don't know what we're doing with him still. Oh my gosh. I know he's gonna jump at the chance so hard to kill him because he doesn't see him. And it's just too funny because in chapter 57, he was even having fun on it with being the debt collector too.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved how I loved Taeha and Lee J. I love how they play off of each other sometimes because they are just so fucking obnoxious, but in the
Yep.
best way possible.
Yeah.
Like I was like getting some like screenshots for some of the videos that we're going to be releasing, and I'm just like looking and I'm just like cracking up. Especially like this scene right here because Taeha is just the biggest like shit ass. He's just laying there like, yeah, what you gonna do? Oh, is there a condom wrapper stuck to my back? Yeah, look at this, bitch. I had your lady. And then, yeah.
And it's like
And then he
oh my
has the
gosh.
nerve to catch his fist, let him punch him a few times, and then he's like, nope, not today, Satan. Not
Oh
today,
my
Junior
god.
Satan. No,
Push you in the face.
Yep.
And this man was like, if you're gonna fight, take it outside. There's no need to wreck the house. And then
Yep.
Mincheol's threatening, and he's like, whoa, now, how scary. You can kill someone if they're alone. Just take
Yep.
it out.
They're like the best duo. They are the best
Oh my
duo.
god.
Love
And
it.
he's like, oh my gosh. Like, call us whatever you want. He's not even like playing with it. And he's like, and he said, like, you're gonna pay off her debts if we did something to her. From the looks of it, you would have to sell a few organs to cover it all. But if you're offering, we won't refuse.
And shit.
Oh my god.
Such
No,
a
that was
shithead.
Yeah, he
and
really is the worst. He
He,
really is the worst.
he
it's like,
deserves
oh
every
my
bit of
god.
karma coming his way.
If your
Yeah,
wife,
Every
if
bit.
he's your wife, find her. Before the other side gets to her first and snatches her away for good. And
Yep.
she was right.
Doing the snatching.
yep.
The snatch and the grab. Love that for her. She deserves
Yeah,
she
same.
deserves to be doted upon because
She
she's
really
dealt with so
does.
much. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up this chapter discussion. But before we do, are there any final thoughts, any predictions that anybody would like to put out there? So what do we think is going to happen the next chapter?
Ooh, Ooh, okay.
He's
I have a
singing
good one.
alone.
If I can go first, please.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so I think he is going to go to the bank to take out a loan, and he's going to be able to take it out because he has no debt in his name. But once he gets it and the repayment period starts, he is going to lose his job and not have income to be able to make those payments. That is the first step to his downfall. That's as far as my mind went.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Study Bunny? What are your thoughts and theories for the next chapter?
I think that Mincheol's. I feel like first and foremost, we're going to find out what was the cause of the debt that's under Hae Soo's name, because it always kind of felt funny to me that we never actually got like origins to the debt, even though like the debt's a big thing. But I think Mincheol's probably going to try to attempt to take out a loan. He realizes that he cannot take out a loan. And they tell him and inform him that, the only way that you could get like a big amount of money comparable to how much he got off with, what is it called? Hae Soo's loan to be able to pay it off is that if you're married. He's going to think about it and he's going to like be like, okay, the perfect opportunity is here to insist to Ari, we should get married, this, that, and the third. And then we're gonna get that on Hae Soo and Taeha side of things. I do hope to see her actually start the process of moving out. I do also hope to kind of see what Taeha's moves are. But again, I do really hope to see Tahi or Taeju, especially Taeju. I really want to see Taeju again because I have so many questions. But we're kind of due to see Director Baek's face. We haven't. It's like, I know it was between 5 chapters. When we saw Tahi and Taeju's first appearance and then their full face reveal. But we actually have to see Director Baek's face. But I feel like Gay's saving that for a very important moment.
And what about you,
Interesting.
digital girl? What do you think we're gonna get for our next chapter?
The thing is, I can't say for just next chapter, honestly, because Gainem never does what I say in the next chapter ever. But I do think, as echoing Study Bunny a bit, we are going to have to deal with Taeju and Taehi. We've been playing the game a little bit too long, and they're going to pop up. And Taeha has been taking days off from work to be up to his old tricks of skulking around, being the all-seeing eye. There's going to be repercussions. I just don't know what they are, and these are going to happen in future chapters. And I think we are going to see the goings on inside the bank, and perhaps even the goings on inside of Ari's house, where she lays out that pregnancy test somewhere in the house to start up an argument or a conversation with her beloved Ginger. So there's that. That's what I got.
Well, as for me, I think that we're probably going to get some check-ins. Like, I think, we're probably going to get some check-ins with Taehi, with his dumbass. I think we're also going to see Daddy, which I really hope. I really do, like all Thursdays, I really do think we're going to get a check-in with you. Because I'm sure he has noticed some things going on. With like Taeha showing up to work with bruises on his face and then just, randomly leaving. I think, that's like a HR thing in my opinion, kind of. And then I also think that we're probably gonna get some cute scenes with Taeha and Hae Soo. I think I don't know if there will be smut in this one, but there might be next one. But I think the next chapter is just going to be a lot of check-ins, and hopefully some plot progression, with the Bone family. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so does anybody in the chat have any final thoughts before we wrap up? This has been a really fun discussion, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it. So any final thoughts? Okay, I don't see anybody typing, so I think that is going to conclude this discussion. Thank you again for joining us. I know we're going to go down to the boardroom for just kind of a hangout sesh. That way everybody can talk amongst themselves and, keep on theorizing. So thank you for joining us. We're also going to update this on YouTube at Withered Flowers Fandom. So we'll post a link on the Discord as well, and then we'll also make the actual recording available here as well. So, all right, everybody, that about does it. I hope you all have a good evening and enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.